great enthusiasm. And Sarah, with her tactics, just not playing along,
Yes. Oh.
which was good, which is exactly what was perfect. I was so happy that you were singing. Yes. Because what then if you hadn't, right? You just would have been, Carol wouldn't have got up and jumped around. Well, yeah, maybe you would have. So, I think we're going to start, we're not going to do opening prayers like we usually do. We're going to do something a little bit different. And I'll tell you why. Is this okay? The sound is good. So, this class, we get into this thing called Chi Jedra, qualities and characteristics. And it's a heavy topic, meaning that if you understand quality and characteristic, if you understand it really well, it can push you into seeing dependent origination. And typically, and even when Geshe Michael Roach taught this, there was all kinds of crazy stuff going on that were obstacles. You know? Like, I think they were in the middle of class and someone started playing piano downstairs, right in the middle of class, and really loud and disrupting the class kind of thing. And he called it a demon. He said, that's a demon. Because that's actually a real demon. Kind of messing with us and taking our mind off of emptiness. And so just as an example, like I worked today, and it took me way longer to get home than I thought it would, and I had way less time to prepare than I thought I would. And I thought of yesterday that I would have the whole night to get ready, because I wanted to get really ready for this class. But my dad and Phyllis came into town and stayed here, so that was out the window. And then, so what happened? So Sharon emailed me saying he would be late, which he's never late. And he said, you know, this is, or if I can come at all, but I'll come in. Tanji let me know that she has a headache, and that it just won't stop. No matter what she does, this headache will not stop. Leonardo's canceled. Amanda phoned me like 10 minutes ago, sounding very sad and saying, I'm not coming tonight. And so that's too bad. We're going to talk about dependent origination. Well, not really talking about dependent origination, leading up to it. But she said that she got home and she was about to leave, and she reached up to reach for a jar of herbs, and a bottle fell on her head. And of course, you know, Amanda's very sensitive to getting hit in the head, right? So she can't come. And Mariska, I don't even, were you late? You were just exactly on time? Yeah, well, Mariska thought she was going to be late. So actually, for a Dutch girl, right on time is late. If you want to get technical, right on time is late. And Mariska is never, ever late. You know, and then Christine was calling through traffic. Right? And so I don't know what anybody else, if they have trouble getting here. Right? But it's like that. It's like that. So, oh yeah, right. And just before, at 6 o'clock, I walked out of the bedroom and I said, what do you think about canceling the class because of the heat? And almost sort of phoning people. And then I thought, demon, right? And then I thought, no, we'll get the microphone out, we'll get the air conditioning going, and we'll do it. But it was really close to not happening. Right? And I also thought, yeah, you know, some people are late, or they might not come, and maybe we'll get it all. You know, it's demon. So we need help. So we're not going to do like a regular opening prayers. We're going to do the preliminaries, regular preliminary meditation before we start class. So I'll lead us through a preliminaries. So take a meditation pose. Take a bit of time to connect to your body. How does it feel? Physical body, where it connects to the earth, the weight of your physical body in this very moment now. It's here with you. We mostly ignore it or don't pay attention to it as much as we probably should. So it can be there for us to pull us into present time. So feel the breath in the belly as the belly rises and falls with the breath. Take a deep inhale. Draw the crown towards the sky. And as you exhale, your shoulders relax, but your heart stays lifted, open. With a gentle smile, soft but alert. Think about your motivation. What brought you here tonight? Through the heat? Nothing could stop you from getting here tonight somehow. It took a certain desire. There was a desire that turned the pedals on the bike. It got you into the car. You must have some kind of hope. You must have some kind of feeling that there's something else besides samsara. You must believe that there's a way out of suffering. Or you would just not really worry about it and continue to suffer. Watch other people suffer and just think, yeah, it's just the way it is. So rejoice in your motivation. And call your Lama. Which simply means you see them there, because they're always there. You just notice them. See them glowing in youthful strength. Their bodies glistening with health and vitality. There's an aura of love that surrounds them. They hold you in this envelope of love. Even if they push you, they're still holding you. Only your Lama will push you to the very edge of samsara and kick you off the side till you're free falling. As they rip away from you all your refuges that you used to count on, that were making you suffer. As they remind you over and over again about what samsara is. It's the Lama's job to remind you, in the same way that a heart attack reminds us that we're about to die, or that our life is impermanent. We have something goes wrong, and we think, oh shit, I will die. I just about did die. And then, because of this heart attack, we change our ways. Okay, I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to get some more exercise. I'm going to stop smoking. While the Lama's there telling you that everyone has a heart attack. Everyone's having a heart attack. And they're trying to wake you up to this fact that samsara is a heart attack. So you got to change your behavior. You got to figure out how to love people more than yourself, so that you can stop this heart attack, prevent it from happening. So we need them. So as they hover in the air before us, bow down to their wisdom, make 3 prostrations, bow to their holy mind, their holy body, their holy speech. And then make offerings. Offer your practice. Offer the fact that you came here tonight. Or anything that you feel like offering, that you know that they would enjoy. Make a confession. Admit to them something that you wish you had done differently. Get it off your mind. And then rejoice. Tell them about something that you are happy that you're doing or have done. Maybe you, on your own volition, debated someone in between last class and this class, just to try and learn how to debate. And maybe you just sat there one day and thought about the debates. It's a virtue. Offer them anything like that. Just rejoicing. And then rejoice in the goodness of others. So tell them about something that someone else is doing or has done. Get really, really happy. Like, look at this amazing person doing this amazing thing. Tell them. Feel your heart swell with joy. Then ask them to stay. Please stay with me. Please never leave. And ask them to teach. Please keep teaching me in ways that are very clear to me. You could ask them specifically to teach you how to turn, your own personal flavor of life into a path. Help me Help me to turn the things I'm passionate about into a way to become enlightened, so that it's always exciting for me. So then you see them floating in the air above you. And you ask them to come and bless you to understand Buddhist logic. And they float in the air even higher, and they shrink down to about the size of your thumb. Turn to face the same way you are, and they land upon your head. And then they melt into your crown chakra, dissolve into golden light, drip down your central channel, and reappear in your heart, where they have a sanctuary there that you've made for them in your heart. Feel the love in their heart and the wisdom in their heart as it emits out of their bodies, their holy bodies, and actually spills out into your heart chamber, oasis, and it fills your whole body with golden light. The light of your Lama fills your whole body with golden light. And then radiates out of your skin. And now you're like the supernova, a combination of you and your Lama. And your mind just wishes that every being could understand reality so perfectly that they could quickly reach dependent origination, see emptiness directly, and be free of all pain. This is your driving wish. And the light blasts into all beings' hearts and lights up the whole universe with wisdom. And then visualize the light returning back into you, back into the Lama in you, back into the heart of your Lama in you. And just sit for a moment and feel that presence of your Lama there. And then we'll come back, slowly opening the eyes. One, finish, ready to start. Get the mic nose. So we just did like a heavy preliminaries. Were you outside for a while, or did you just come in?
I was there for most of it.
Most of it, oh great. Did you hear like why we did the preliminaries? We just didn't. Yeah, I was just wanted to invoke some special help because there was lots of obstacles to getting here tonight for lots of people. That's almost a count with Sarah. If Sarah got on the bus for free. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. You missed the first two? And it was free.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, really dicey comer to get this class because we're going to talk about Chief Edrak. Well, and if you ever watch many of the, Geshe and Michael Roach have put out lots of video feeds and audios about this idea. We'll talk more about it as the classes go on, but this idea we're going to talk about tonight as being the doorway to emptiness. Specifically the doorway to dependent origination, which will then get you to emptiness. The supreme object. So who can tell me what the supreme object is? The llama. Sharon knocks the ball out of the park. Sharon gets a home run. No, it's not the supreme. But it's a very great answer. Yeah. No, supreme object, the llama. I like it. It's a technical term. Supreme object. Let's consider the supreme object. The supreme object is anything that I see when I'm grumpy. Any object I see when I'm grumpy is a supreme object. It is? You guys agree? You guys don't think I got grumpy? The supreme object is any object that I happen to see when I'm depressed. The supreme object is any object I happen to see when I'm in a really good mood. Yeah? No. No, it's not. The supreme object is something else. I never said you could talk yet. The supreme object is something else.
Yes.
It is something else. Ah. The supreme object is not something else because any object I see, doesn't matter what mood I'm in, it's a supreme object. The supreme object is any object that I see. The supreme object is any object that anyone ever sees. Yell it. Not necessarily. Oh. So people don't see objects. People do see objects. So just because people see objects doesn't mean they see the supreme object. Oh. So seeing the supreme object is a certain kind of object. The supreme object isn't a certain kind of object. So the supreme object is not even an object. It is an object. Make up your mind. Huh? Oh, the supreme object is not an object. Okay. Well, since it's not an object, I guess it doesn't exist. It does exist. Well, just because it's not an object doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So you're telling me pink elephants exist? Does pink elephants don't exist? But just because a pink elephant doesn't exist, it doesn't mean there's no supreme object? No. Okay. So a supreme object has nothing to do with seeing an object because it's not an object. Oh, no. So it's got nothing to do with seeing an object. So the supreme object has nothing to do with seeing any object. No. It has something to do with seeing an object. Oh. So you're telling me that the supreme object isn't the object, but it's something about seeing the object? Oh. I guess you couldn't possibly tell me what the supreme object is. Couldn't. You couldn't.
I could.
You could. So if I say you couldn't, you say no. You couldn't tell me. You couldn't tell me.
No.
Well, you couldn't tell me. You can't tell me. Sure.
It's the absence of the object.
Oh, so I close my eyes and that's it?
No.
Oh, so there's the chair. The chair was there. I took the chair out of the room, and that's the supreme object because it's not there anymore. What you're telling me? That's easy. If anyone can see the supreme object, then just remove the object from the room.
No.
No, that's not what it is. You can explain further. You can. You can explain. You can. Can you?
Can I?
Can you? Can you? You can. You agree?
Yes.
Yes. Sure.
perceiving the absence of the object. Perceiving what is there in the absence. What is absence of an object?
So, perceiving what is the absence of an object.
Yeah.
So we're back to square one.
Perceiving.
So perceiving what is the absence of the object.
The perception.
The perception.
The seer is important.
The seer is yes,
What you
yes.
see,
I'm very important. It's all about me. The seer is very important.
Okay, not the seer. The manner of seeing. The manner of seeing. The manner of seeing. The manner of perceiving.
The manner
of perceiving and understanding.
The manner of seeing and perceiving and understanding is got something to do with, or it is the supreme object. Is the manner?
No.
No.
No. It is the gateway to understanding a supreme object.
Okay. There is no synonym for the supreme object. Ah, there is a synonym for the supreme object. Sure. Dependent origination. So dependent origination exists whether you see it or not. Things are dependently arising whether you're aware of it or not. True. Okay, so you agree. So then if dependent origination is the same thing as the supreme object, then everyone is always aware of the supreme object, even if not aware of it. No, it's not true. So there's something about dependent origination. What is it to see the supreme object? Tell me. Someone just tell me. What are you seeing when you see? So you're seeing the emptiness of the object. So seeing emptiness directly and the supreme object are the same thing. So seeing emptiness directly and seeing the supreme object are the same thing. No, they're not the same thing. So they both happen at the same time. So when you see the supreme object, then you see seeing emptiness is the exact same thing. There's no point in seeing the supreme object before because it's the same thing. No, it's not true. So there's something about dependent origination and the supreme object and emptiness. They're all interwoven somehow.
Yes.
Yes. No one here can tell me what dependent origination means. Sure. Right, so things are dependently arising. So this object is only a clock dependent upon me seeing it as a clock. So this clock is dependently originating as a clock because something in my head allows this to happen. So that's dependent origination. Does everyone always know that? So if you did happen to look at this object and you did happen to be aware that you weren't really looking at a clock, but you were looking at a mental image of a clock that was in your mind, what would that be called? What would you be seeing then? The supreme object. Yeah, so you would see, you see, there's seeing emptiness directly, which is, see, it's all very, it all interweaves and flirts with each other. There's the emptiness, there's directly seeing what is not here. So, Carol, you're kind of like, right? There's directly seeing what is not there. which is seeing that there's no clock here, which is seeing the emptiness of the clock. But what about the rest of it? What about the clock that is there that you see? Right? So what if, so before you actually get to directly perceive what isn't there, you first have to see what is there and how it's appearing to you. So this is just before you see emptiness directly, okay? Just before. It could be 24 hours before. It could be that day. But if you happen to be meditating in your room, or you don't have to meditate. So let's just say you're. Do you have a watch, Sharon? Do you? Let's just say. You use a calculator at work. Let's just say Sharon is happens to be at work, and it's like 3 o'clock, getting on in the day a little bit, and he's crunching numbers on his calculator. All of a sudden, something happens. He looks at this thing that a moment before appeared to him like a calculator. Just like, yeah, I use this all the time. It is a calculator. And suddenly, Sharon looks at this thing, and the whole, like, he's not aware of the room anymore. All he's aware of is the fact that he's not looking at a calculator. And what he's looking at is a rectangular shaped object that's got some black little smaller squares on it. And those small squares have lines on them. And there's a rectangular thing that goes the other way on it. And that has numbers on them that seem to move around. And he realizes that, oh my God, there's a calculator in my head that I'm actually imputing onto this rectangular object with these weird other little smaller squares. And that it is not a calculator from its own side, couldn't be, and never has been. And every time I look at this object, this is what's been happening all the time. And Sharon finally sees it. He actually sees himself performing dependent origination. And he sees the supreme object in his mind. He sees that calculator, which has to be there before that object can become a calculator. And he also knows it's completely true, and he knows that the ant that happens to be crawling across his desk does not see what he sees, and has no, that ant doesn't have that calculator inside his head. He's got something else inside his head. And he's looking at that and seeing whatever it is that an ant would see that makes an ant an ant. So when that happens to Sharon, he's about to see emptiness directly. And it will happen that day, or the next day. Very, very soon it will happen. And that's why this class, we're going to enter into mental images, the study of mental images. And it's so important for your path to understand how it is that we are mistaking the world that we see as for the mental image that's in our mind. We make the mistake. We see a car drives by, and we make the mistake of thinking, oh, there goes a car. Instead of realizing, oh, there goes a moving object with these four little round things that are making it, whatever. But if somehow there's a concept car in my mind, that was allowing this to exist in my world, which makes me, or Sharon, or Carol, like your bicycle, for instance, like your bike. When you take a look at that thing, you get up in the morning, whether you're going to go for a ride, and you see that crazy conglomeration of pipes and spokes and wheels, right? All those things that are put together in your mind, like, yeah, no problem, it's a bike. It functions as a bike. This thing's going to get me wherever it is I'm going to go. And that's what makes you Carol, is that bike that you see. If my dog that I used to live with, but not anymore, saw that particular conglomeration of pipes, of round shapes and spokes, just freak him right out, and he runs in the other direction. He's absolutely terrified of bikes. And that's what makes him him.
Concept of the car that's in your mind,
yeah.
That you're shooting onto this object. And then I guess the question that I always have whenever I hear about this or read about it is, what about the appearance itself?
The raw data.
Yes, so
the
colors and the
yeah.
and the mass and all of that without the concept of the car.
Exactly.
So I guess I'm just wondering, is that also a concept, or like because it's easy to think of like, okay, I have a thought and that's not as significant,
yeah.
not as concrete because it's in your mind, so
yeah.
it's easy to like separate that from the object. But I guess I'm just wondering about what about the actual substance?
What about the stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, that's there that makes it possible for me to call it a car. Yeah. Yeah, that's the question that you have to get to eventually. You start talking about this. So what about the tire? What about the raw data? Like what about they call it the raw data. What about that potential stuff that my mind is imputing stuff? Does that exist? Is that like out there somehow? So now that's depends on who you're talking to and which school of Buddhism you're talking about, or which school of Buddhism is describing the way that we conceive reality. So in this course, we're largely Sautantrika or the logic school, right? And they'll only break it down so far. Right? They'll break it down to like, okay, maybe they'll break it down to the raw data. Maybe they'll break it down as far as atoms or something like that. But that's as far as they're going to go. Okay, so, but the further you go down, and this is the beauty of what we're going to talk about today, is because this one idea that we're going to talk about today actually applies to every concept. So the further you go down the rabbit hole, the more it unravels, and you find out, well, there isn't anything that I can point to that I can say is self-existently there. Even the raw data. Even the raw data is also, because, sure, it's made of metal, it's gray. Like where does gray come from? Or it's silver. It's silver, and it's got this rectangular shape and these four round things, and it goes, okay, I can understand that. I can understand that cars, someone sees that and they don't see a car. They see something else. And the fact that we're conglomerating all these things that we see, and we can't even see it all at once, and we're forming this thing in our mind, and okay, there's a car. But how do I know about the other stuff too, like the parts? Where do I think the part? So if you take it down, if you strip it away, okay, I'm just gonna okay, the heck with it. I'm just going to look at the door, right? Okay, and then and at what point do you stop? Okay, there's the door. Okay, no, okay, throw out door now. Okay, what's okay? Okay, I'm narrowing it down to the window now. Like at what point? At what point does car stop? When does it stop being a car or part of a car? Okay, okay, we're down. Okay, everything's gone now. It's just now the door handle. This weird silver thing. You know, is that out there? No, it's just this one. And then you keep going until you're just down to like the silver sheen of the door handle. Everything else is gone, and you keep going. Okay, well, is there parts to that? Does that have parts? What's the raw data of this thing? Oh, it's silver, some silver thing. Where's that raw data coming from? And then you go even further. Okay, silver. Where's silver coming from? How do I know that's even silver? What am I even calling it silver for? Where's silver? Well, silver's here too. That's not silver. Nothing. And then it's like, oh, okay. Well, then where's the silver? Oh, it's painted on this metal. You know, I mean, where's the metal coming from? What do you mean metal? It's not metal. It's some. And then you keep going until you keep dividing, and you come down until you get to like the atomic particles. And then you get to the atomic particles, and what is this? So those don't have sides. There's no way to divide the atomic particles. And it keeps going and going and going until in Madhyamika Prasangaka, you get to there isn't anything. There isn't not even the raw data exists out there the way that we think it exists out there. But for the purposes of and that is something that could blow the socks off of lots of people and freak them right out and think they're walking into some kind of hallucinogenic like work zone. And that's why it's very useful to just simply talk about shapes and colors that's out there, so that the important thing is to simply understand that there ain't no car other than the car that I'm seeing that's in my mind first. And that can get rid of your mental afflictions. That can get rid of your mental afflictions. That can take you to a place where you finally understand that everything's my fault. Everything I'm seeing is my own fault. And this is how it all ties together, you see. You're wrestling with this idea, like you're driving your car or you're walking down the street and you're learning these things, and you're starting to look at objects and going, okay, where does tree come from? Okay, I just saw a tree. Oh, but I didn't see a tree. I saw some shapes, but trees somewhere. And then, oh, it's a beautiful tree. I like that tree. It's a nice tree. Is it a nice tree? No, it's not a nice tree. My virtue going on. It's a nice karma. I'm experiencing myself having a nice result. So when you combine the logic of how it is that we're imputing mental images and mistaking them for the actual object, and then you add, well, how can that be? What is the karma that's forcing me to perceive that way? Because I can't change it. I can't change my mind. If you then start to bring in the acceptance of the fact that, well, if I was kind to people, then I'm gonna. If I've given rides, a bus will appear and not charge me and get me to where I want to go. Sure, okay, I see this car, and it's a nice car, and it's full of gas, and it'll take me somewhere, and it's a pleasant experience, and that's because of my karma. That's because I have done something for others in the past that's given me a beautiful moment. Because it's one thing to go, okay, sure, John, I get that. I get that fact that I can get from point A to point B because I've helped someone else get where they want to go. But then when you add the fact that this whole thing is a mental image, then you get to see the proof of why that's possible. And not only is it possible, how could it be happening in any other way? What else could be causing it? What else could be causing it? Is it some outside force? Is it some outside force that's causing me to see this car? Or is it the car forcing me to see it as a car? So we have to prove to ourselves over and over again that we're constantly mistaking the world for the mental image that's already in our head before we actually see it. So you're actually staring at your own karma all the time. You're staring at your own karma. And you're not even staring at your own karma. You are your own. Like, you are karma. Like, we are karma. Until we're not. Until we're beyond that. But we have to use that principle to get beyond that principle to become a Buddha. So mental images is a direct path to seeing things directly, studying mental images. And you'll notice that the reading to this class, well, they get progressively really crazier and crazier. But the reading of this class is really hard to understand. So you have to be both patient and enthusiastic. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your karma. Okay? And get help. Get help from the guru. Get help from the lama. Beg your lama to help you understand. Beg your lama to help you open up ACI 13 binder and understand one of those conversations they're having in there, which would make most people run. You know, if you took that binder, to your buddies and said, "Hey, look what I'm reading. This is what we're learning," and they open it up and they'd say, they probably think you were crazy. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they get really excited and be like, "Oh yeah, finally we're getting somewhere." So tonight's subject is called Chi Jedra. Say Chi Jedra. So, and that's like the overarching general Chi Jedra, which means qualities and characteristics. It's not the one that's going to take you to dependent origination. It's just, so a Chi means a general category. It's going to get confusing because maybe it won't. But just talking about these kinds of things has a way of slipping away. It slips through your hands like water. So the word chi means the general category. Okay, and the jedrak is a specific member of that category. Okay, you could call it sets and subsets. It's fun to use cars because they're everywhere. We don't have to use cars. But you think, like, car, like a car could be a chi, okay, a general category. And the different members of that chi could be Fords or Toyotas, right? Just to think of those. So there's cars, and then there's Fords and Toyotas. And there's a way of testing whether something is a chi of a Jedrak, is to imagine what would happen if you wiped out all of the chis, all the Buddha. Like, what if you wiped out the general category? So, like, for instance, if you had, because let's get into your question a little bit, Sharon, is like, you can go car, so a car could be a general chi, and then a quality of it or a characteristic of it would be Toyota's, Ford. But then you could go one notch down and say Toyota, and you change Toyota into the general, and then are there different kinds of Toyotas? Sure. There's an Echo. There's a what's another kind of Toyota? Previa. I have a Previa, right? And right, and there's old Toyotas, new Toyotas. So how you tell if like old Toyota is a Jedrak of Toyota is if you wipe out Toyota. You say, okay, there's no Toyotas. Can there be a Jedrak? No, there can't be because there's no Toyotas. So that's how you check to see if it's a Jedrak of something. So there are three types of chi. Okay? There are three types. Well, there's more than three types, but there's three types that we talk about that are helpful. So there's three types of general categories. Okay, and two of them aren't real, as in they're not that helpful, but they're helpful in a sense of they will help you understand what a chi is, but technically they're not the real deal, which we'll get to a little bit later. So the first one is called a rikchi. Rikchi, okay? And a rikchi is just a general type. Rik means general type. So a vegetable could be a rikchi. And a Jedrak of the rikchi, like what would be a characteristic, right? What would be a characteristic of vegetable? Give me an example. A carrot. Yeah. So you've got rikchi, a general type. Okay, vegetables. What's a Jedrak? Some kind of carrot, right? Tomatoes. Right? We could say smartphone. We would call smartphone rikchi, and then as a general type, and then its particular members could be what? What's that? It's a fan. Yeah. Well, I didn't say iPhone. I said smartphone. You went too far. Well, not really. You could say 5S because you could say iPhone, Samsung, right, the Galaxy, and then you could switch it and say, okay, iPhone. We'll call iPhone the rikchi, and then what would be the characteristics of that? Oh, you've got what, the 5, the 5S, 6. How far are they going to go? So this is important. We're going to touch into it, but you can see how it's going to lead into breaking things down. I mean, how far are you going to take this thing? Right? How far do categories and subsets go? So here's a definition of a rikchi. This is technical. That existing thing which subsumes the multiple things which are of its type. That existing thing which subsumes the multiple things which are of its type. Which basically means the general quality and the many things that are characteristic of that general quality. See, it's confusing to talk about it and to hear it, because what do you mean general quality? Because quality sounds like an action, or quality sounds like a okay, you're calling an iPhone a quality, you're calling a car a quality, and now you're saying that this quality of this car and now has like these jet racks, that's all this quality. So it's, you'll understand hopefully why later, or maybe right now. So it's a general quality, right? What's a general quality? So we're using car, so carness. We could use cell phone ness, or anything at all ness, like the ness, the car ness, the quality that is the car. So, okay, who cares, right? Who cares? I get it, John. There's cars and there's kinds of cars. Is that why I came here tonight? I could have stayed home and looked up on Wikipedia. Yes, there's all kinds of things and things that are kind of like that. Great. But we have to take it from like what may seem like a general list into perceptions. That's how we make it useful. Okay? And that's where we get this quality, the general quality. So if you want under samsara in this lifetime, we have to understand this. So if we're going to talk about quality and characteristics, and we're going to use car, then think of car as quote car, like car, like carness, carness. So if you think carefully, what's the difference between a car, the car, and car? A car, the car, and car. Carness, so the quality of car. That's the life and death question. Right there. A car, the car, and car. I could easily say a clock, the clock, and clock. Like, it could be anything. That's why it's beautiful. Is you get to if you hadn't already, suddenly every single thing in your reality becomes an opportunity for you to go, okay, is that the chair? What's the difference between chair, a chair, and the chair? You look so happy, Carol, like you're bursting out and you want to tell me what it is.
I want to try.
You want to do? You want to?
Why not?
Sure, of course.
Okay, I'm going to try. And I think that a car is universal. Universal cars. Cars. A car. The car is a specific car. Car is definitively car.
Say that again, sorry.
Definitively car.
So,
What
okay,
defines
a car or car is definitively car?
Car.
Okay, so car in quotation marks, you're calling definitively car.
And definitive, define is the verb. It's really an active thing. It's active, right? It's not a thing. It's an action of defining.
It's an action of defining. Cool.
Understanding car. It's action. It's definitely.
It's action.
Yeah, it's definitely not a thing. We're not thinking of a concrete thing at all.
Right.
It's
a concept.
Yeah. A car is the car is very much what we would. When I say the car, it's very specific. So I think that we're going to think in sort of solid terms for that.
Yeah.
I think people use that. I'm talking about language, right?
And the car, what's the car?
The car is a specific, very specific car. And I think it's, yeah, it's a very specific, it's one car, the car.
Right.
Only one.
Okay, sure, cool. I
Subset.
like it.
Subset. Smallest. Smallest set of the smallest subset. Okay.
Right, which is handy. We need to know these things, right? I mean, if Sharon gives me the keys to his car and says, "Go out and get my wallet out of a car."
Any car.
Opens up. I might get lost. Right?
Yeah,
Right?
I don't know.
No? Yeah. Anybody want to disagree with Carol? Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. But what's the mistake that we make?
Something's
It seems so easy. I'm just saying this out, and it just seems so easy. Am I that good at explaining it? I mean, was it that easy? It sure seems like you're getting it pretty darn easy. Maybe I'm the dumb one. Maybe I don't get it. What's that? I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that.
An answer. I don't know if it's
No.
what we're looking for.
Yeah. So what's okay? I thought you very succinctly just told us all what. So you're calling car like an active thing, like a concept, an idea maybe, right? So what's the mistake that we make? If all three of them are like valid in our world,
Oh,
what's the mistake that we make? Right?
well, see that.
Yeah. Because everything looks like the car or a car. We don't think about car too much. We don't think about where car comes from. We just get into the car. We want to go buy a car. I want to buy a car. I want to rent a car. Oh, finally, the car is here. But we're not thinking too much about car. So this class is about, let's think about car. Right? Let's think about clock. It's freaking Sharon out. Yeah. It freaked me out too when I first heard it. And then it was really exciting, because then I was walking around and like, yeah, tree, person. I mean, most of us were so hung up on other things, like, oh yeah, I want to meet this person. I want to meet this beautiful person who's going to make me happy. And we're not generally going to like, wait a minute, where does person come from? Why do I even like? How is it that I'm even able to even have a concept that is person? And if you do it enough, see, this is okay. This is your job. Your job is to like, because we can't be in class 24 hours a day, you have to learn how to pull the rug out from underneath your own feet as much as you possibly can. Because what's the rug? Samsara is the rug. Yeah. This big old comfy thing that you're walking around on that you think is like that's samsara. So sure in all that it provides. And then one day you'll get the ultimate tug and you'll be dead. And then if you happen to die, and you don't understand car, then guess what that means? That means you have ignorant attraction, and ignorant aversion still left, right? Because guess what is going to annihilate ignorant aversion and ignorant desire? Car. It's going to kill it. Because if you do it enough, you'll be forced into seeing that, wait a minute, this stuff's coming from me. It's in here first. How can I, how can I think it's coming from that? How can I think that that person's beautiful from their own side, or that car is nice from its own side? I can't, because I keep continuously proving it to myself that it's not. What does that mean? Well, that means that there's a reason why I'm seeing that object. And if that object is not an object that gives me bliss, I'm not done yet. That's all. That's it. That's all it means. Because guess what? Let's say you're walking, I don't know, anywhere, and you happen to fall into the direct perception of the supreme object, and you're looking at a bush. You're looking at a bush, like say, right? And you see like these brown lines that are weaving around, and you see like these green kind of oval-shaped things that are all scattered in around there, and you just for a second it catches you, and then you realize that your mind is, you catch yourself labeling it. You literally catch yourself labeling bush. Right? And you know that that's just the way it's always been. You've never seen any bush other than that. You've never seen shrubbery other than the way that it's happening in that moment. Now, what about the dragonfly that comes and lands on the same bush? The dragonfly it's all happening just in the exact same way with the dragonfly. Because it comes down, and what does it see? Certainly not what you see. It doesn't have, shrubbery. It's got something else. It's gonna, well, I don't know, city, landing pad. It's gonna land on this big green landing pad. It doesn't even have green in its head, right? And it's the same. It's happening the same for every being. It's not like we're special. It just means that that's what makes it possible for each and every one of us to be forced into having paradise in there before it hits the object. Just one more great thing. Everything you're looking at is one more amazing thing. Every situation, everything that happens is just, you can't perceive it as a negative thing. Like you lose the ability. You lose the thing in your mind that has the characteristic of saying, right? Yuck. Don't want that. Wish that wasn't happening. Wish that wasn't happening. I hope that happens. Oh, great, this is happening. I hope it lasts. That's a karma. That's got nothing to do with anything other than that. So, what if you got your head around what I'm talking about here and started looking at, all the objects in your world and you can be walking around in an emptiness meditation all the time. Now you want to speed yourself up and get yourself to a certain sense of emptiness. you do that. Because then when you sit down on your cushion, you're just primed. You don't even, you sit down, you're primed, and you're like, even your cushion, even your body, even your thoughts. So if you do that, as much as possible, and make offerings to the Lama in your mind, and beg the Lama to bless your mind, to see it directly. Because if you do that enough, eventually the cart will tip over and you will actually see it. You won't be, because you feel that right now, right? There's this intellectual grasping of it, which is creates like a wind. This is like this wind of subtle discomfort, possibly. A subtle, like, things aren't quite as they seem to be. Which is great, because we want to get out of the comfort of samsara. And if you do that enough, then eventually it will just have to happen that you're looking at an object like Sharon in his office and his calculator. It will have to happen because you've like created that groove in your mind to not look at anything like the way you used to look at it anymore. So combine that with some meditation and some guru devotion, and you have a recipe for becoming an Arya. So, and all that stands between you and becoming an Arya is that. There's no like iron gate. It's just that. It's just the concept of how we're mistaking actual objects for mental images. Or vice versa. I don't know, did I say that wrong? Mistaking mental images for actual objects. So that was like taking a simple concept called Rikchi, and talking about it in kind of a mundane way, and saying, oh yeah, okay, there's cars and then there's Toyotas, and then changing it, going into a deeper way, which, because that's not going to help you much. Okay, there are cars and there are Toyotas that are cars, and that's not going to help you very much. But taking that into a more sublime method of thinking about that, okay, there is car. Not just cars in general in the world, but there is the concept car, and the concept car is now the general, and then everything that falls underneath that concept car fits into that, and then you just can keep on going. Because right when you think you've got the answer, you're trying to figure out, okay, tire, right? And when you think you're uncomfortable there, it's like, oh, spoke. And on and on and on down you go until your mind pops. You see it. So that was Rikchi, and we're going to talk about Dunchi for a minute before we start debating. So the first one, the first chi was Rikchi, the one I just mentioned. That we could teach it like, okay, yeah, there's cars and there's Toyotas, so we could teach it the way that I just said it. There's car-ness, and then the second kind of chi means mental image. Okay, so this is the second chi, the second general. And this second one, called Dunchi, has there are three kinds of Dunchis, okay? Yeah, there are three aspects of a Dunchi. And here's the first one. Think of your kitchen sink. I'm assuming everyone has a kitchen sink. Think of your kitchen sink. That mental image that pops up in your mind is a dunshi. Okay? Um, because the first quality of a dunshi is the fact that it's a mental image of something you've already seen directly. Okay? We don't go into this very much right now, but there's drachi, and a drachi is a mental image of something you've only heard about. You haven't actually seen directly, right? Like, does anyone here have a dunshi of Tom Cruise? You saw him face to face? You might have a dunshi of Tom Cruise in film. You have the drachi. I think we all have a drachi of Tom Cruise. You know, like heard all about him, lots of things about him, saw him in movies and things like that. Really like him. Or do I? I don't know. I haven't met him. I like his characters he plays. Um, you know, it's always weird. Like you can have a drachi of a somebody like that, like a Tom Cruise or something, and then you actually get the dunchi. That's completely weird. It's like completely like what a who my well yeah years ago I was there used to be a place here called Graceland Dance. It was like a dance club. It was like a house beat. You know, you go there, everybody's all in black. You know, everyone's smoking. That's when you can smoke inside, right? So the place was just a fog of cigarettes and black, you know, and house music, and lights and weird projected stuff. And then I turned around and there's who is it? It's Emilio Estevez. Emilio Estevez leaning against a pillar, and he was so small. He was really short. It just freaked me right out, you know. And it's like totally like took me by surprise that he was that short. Because in the movies they can make you look really tall. Right? So that's suddenly my drachi. Suddenly my drachi of Emilio Estevez fell apart, and I had to deal with the dunchi, which is there he was right in front of me. So so that's the difference between drachi and dunchi. Here's the second aspect of a dunshi. The second aspect of mental image. We've already talked about it. We mistake it for the actual object. This is the really important part of dunshi, is we mistake that mental image for the actual object. In other words, right, I thought suddenly I had a dunshi of Emilio Estevez, and I didn't realize that even Emilio Estevez was here first. I mean, I was overlaying poor Emilio Estevez with all these qualities, like short. I mean, you can just like take that apart in 3 seconds. And what is short? Right? What's short if there's no tall? Mm-hmm. So something in my mind labeled him as short, whereas you can be sure he's tall to somebody. You know? So that's a good example of mistaking the mental image in our mind for the actual object. Oh, he's short. Yeah, he's short. He looks short. He is short. Or he's well dressed. Oh, he's well dressed. Or like, why is he by himself? Well, I guess he has no friends. Well, I happened to see Emilio Estevez. I know all about Emilio Estevez now. I saw him for about 4 seconds leaning against the post, and he happened to be alone. Oh, I guess he's not that popular. He's short and not that popular. I guess the world doesn't know about Emilio Estevez. He must have come there alone, poor lonely Emilio. I mean, he's just bang, and just from mistaking the mental image. So different schools have different opinions on how we do this, how it is that we mistake the actual object. The one that we're excited about is the one that will relate to seeing emptiness directly. It's very similar to the Self-Tantric school, but not exactly the same. I mean, I just said it all. You know, we realize that we're not looking at a calculator. We're looking at a mental picture of a calculator that we've been mistaking as a calculator for as far back as we can remember. Calculators. And all you see out there are certain lines, certain object, shapes and colors, mistaking it for calculator. Because, you know, the eye can't think calculator. The eye can only pick up the stuff that seems to be there. They can only pick up like blacks and silver. I mean, we even think, oh, good calculator. Not only do we mistake it for a calculator, we even like put a quality on it and assume, oh yeah, it's also a good calculator. You know, I wouldn't buy a crappy calculator. I'm an accountant. Sean cannot own a crappy calculator. You know? So the mind, dictated by your past karma, organizes this stuff and throws calculator on it. You know, and going back to, and what's slippery is like, talk about the bush idea, the shrubbery and the dragonfly seeing it. Right? It's like, it's no more a bush. It's no more a bush than it is like a city, a grand city of insects. You know? It's neither nor. It's no more one or the other. It's like that. And you get that if you go on a retreat, you go on a deep retreat, and you suddenly see things that you've never seen before. Like I remember one of my first ones in the summer, walking around and kind of, I don't know, it's like comfortable in my idea of what Gabriola Island is, walking through the grass. And all of a sudden, some shift in perception happens, and then I felt like the whole island, I felt the whole island was moving underneath my feet, and I had no stability. And then I realized what had happened was somehow my perceptions had shifted. I was actually looking at the insects. I was looking at the life, the insects that were moving underneath the grass, or like in and around the grass. So I wasn't seeing the grass, I was seeing the movement, the life, which was like insane in its, I don't know what you could call it, like so full, just teeming with life that I couldn't see the minute before that. But for a second, it was scary as my whole world fell apart. Really, what was it? Mental image. I was relying on and comfortable with a certain mental image, and then I was able to see something different. And then there was a transition of being afraid, and then it was really exciting to be part of that. You know? And then I laid on the ground and began to really look, and a flower that was like say this high. It's maybe a flower surrounded by some other flowers. Suddenly, it was like a 20-story New York City, and you're just going deeper and deeper and deeper down, and then there's every little branchway, and there's traffic coming and going all the time. There's ladybugs coming in, with dragonflies flying over. There's ground traffic, and I mean, just like you ever seen the movie Harrison Ford? Is that Blade Runner? Right? It's just like levels and levels and levels and levels and levels, and I'm just like I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, well, how many levels are there? Like how far does this go? How thick is this? Right? So your mind, changes when you start to be able to see a reality like that as not what you just think it is all the time. So that's what's in our way. Is that reality is what we think it is, and we mistake what we're looking at as being real versus the mental image that we're having the karma to perceive in that moment. There isn't any other thing that we're seeing other than the mental image that we have the karma to see in that moment. It's like you can walk out to your car and think, oh yeah, I'm gonna go home now, I'm tired. Or you walk out your car and you see this amazing miracle machine, right, with all these crazy moving parts, and you get in, it just seems impossible. And you get inside this amazing thing, and you start driving, it's like you're flying. It's like you're completely, your mind is totally invested, totally and absolutely invested in the moment as you like enjoy the miracle of flight. You just happen to be like 6 inches off the ground, moving through this miracle place. That's being forced upon you, and it would be a mistake for me or you or anyone to think that was the truth, to think that was not a mental image. See? And because that's what makes it possible for us to become a Buddha. That's what makes it possible for us to then change, be forced into the perception of having a mental image of us as a Buddha. Tantric deity in one lifetime. Just like the car. It's just like the car. It's not different than the frickin' car. Like, go in the car, oh, there's a normal old car. Right? Or you can get a worldly kind of nicer car. You can get a Lamborghini. If you're rich enough, a Lamborghini gets boring after a while, I'm sure. You can get that and try to make the world work out for you in that way. Yeah, if I put in enough money and work enough hours, make enough investments, I can get this Lamborghini. And then, right? Or you can just change your bloody karma and walk into and happen to like get into a jalopy that's strapped together by baling wire and duct tape and think, wow, this is a miracle. This, is the miracle of flight. Wow, this is totally impossible. All this is happening, and you're like, why? All because you sat there like a good little Buddhist noodle baker and just doubted everything that you looked at. You just happened to doubt your assumptions about everything that you see. And something just explodes in your mind. And then because, what's worse than thinking you know what it is? What's worse than that? Oh, how boring. Oh, I know what that is. You want to get out your shotgun and just shoot it. Kill it. I kill thee, O object. I know what you are. Right? Mistaking the world for not understanding its mental not understanding it's a mental object, trying to be comfortable with our mental images, like trying to be comfortable, and so killing everything. Killing everything. Killing ourselves, killing our relationships, killing the world, never happy, never able to actually understand that there's this miracle called mental images going off in your mind that's being forced upon you by your karma. And then all you have to do is tweak your karma, and then the whole thing changes, right? It's pointless to try and fix all the things out there one by one. You'll never get done. You just got to fix one thing. That's you. That's your karma. And then it all changes. Because why? Junji's Rikji's. That's why. There's no other reason why. All right. I'm going to go over the last Junji very quickly in the debate. The third quality of a Junji this is another way they say that we perceive things. Some people do. Some schools do. Take everything in the world that is not this clock and cancel it out. What's left? The clock. Take everything in the world which is not this clock and cancel it out. I'm looking at a clock. Okay. And some schools say that's how we perceive every object. Somehow, every single thing that we see in the world, our mind is doing this mad exercise of just canceling everything else out. And so that we can actually see the object that we're looking at. A lot of cancellations. This is very South Tantrica, logical school. And it will help you a little bit, but it's not the main point, right? So, and here's how it helps you. I'll do something else. I'll hold up my mala. So if you look at this mala, I'm calling it a mala, a rosary, and I say to you, how are you seeing this mala? And you think about it. Oh, I'm taking everything in the world that's not a mala and I'm canceling it out. And that's making it possible for you to see the mala. Do you feel something happen? In your mind? In your body even maybe? You'll notice that the Tibetan Buddhists, they'll try and find any way they can to make us think in the negative. Just try and make us positive. Try and make us change our mind into contemplating something that isn't. Because it feels differently and it functions differently. Because we're used to doing exactly the opposite. Oh, there's a mala. Right? That's very different than thinking, oh, there's everything in the world that isn't a mala. Very, very different, right? Oh yeah, there's a cup. No problem. Oh, wait a minute. There's everything in the world that isn't that cup. There's the opposite of everything in the world that isn't that cup. It feels different. But it's more important for your enlightenment, your future enlightenment, to reflect on how this cup is coming from my past karma. That's what's going to function for you. But everything but the cup is more like a mental exercise. And some Buddhist schools in Tibet think that that's what emptiness means. Which, right, that they think that the emptiness of something is the fact that it is the opposite of all which it is not. Trying to get your head around that, right? that the emptiness of something is the fact that it is the opposite of all which it is not. But that's not what, that can't be the emptiness of the object. Because if it were, then every time you looked at an object, you'd be seeing emptiness directly. Basically. It's not that easy. I wish it was. So that's it. Or we're going to stop there, because we need some time to debate. So you won't be able to do your homework, or much of it anyway. Okay. So now we close the books, and we're going to have a debate. We'll do like before. We'll make a line. Whew. So we'll make two lines here, like before, facing the center. Carol's getting her mala out. Anybody needs a mala? There's 3 here. Anyone else need a mala? Yeah, you don't know. All right. Got Michi and Christine there somewhere. So I think it's best if do it like last time, right? Like I won't be the actual debater, but I'll help. So maybe we'll get Christine debating. She's special guest. Yeah, she does. No, not yet. Okay, so she's going to defend. So now we need a volunteer to attack. Someone who's not Carol. Anybody that wants to. Yeah. And we can throw out a subject. Anybody that wants to. So Sharon threw out Passing Through Your Lives last time. 2 months ago. And then we debated. It doesn't really matter what you debate because people just go the way it goes. So someone's got to stand up and defend. I'll point someone out. You need to. Oh, Sharon, okay, Sharon. Woo. You remember this dance? Yeah. Oh, yeah, but first before you do that, what are we going to debate? Let's think of the subject. Or do you have one? This has to be something actually.
It doesn't. I mean, whatever it can be. I mean, you can debate. You don't have to memorize a list. You can debate that.
I don't know what this does. It's like functioning things, strings and functions cannot exist.
Okay. So I'm going to be pretty slow at that one, but yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So I'd like to. What's that?
Is it okay that I'm like doing really slow?
I think that that's best. I think that so. Yeah, this class, this course, is about learning to debate. It's not about knowing material. And I think in about 2 classes from now, basically we'll just be we'll learn the formula and the sixth grade we're supposed to formula. That will be what we do. So right now, you just take your time. If you need help, ask for help, and I'll try and help. And when you come down to the you say like functioning things. You say functioning things. Functioning things.
So there's like a progression, right? I gotta say something, follow the.
Well, see, you don't have to. You only have to say a 3-part statement, like consider functioning things. They don't exist because I don't see this function. Like you don't have to do that. You could just say anything like functioning things don't exist. You could do anything, but what you can't do is ask a question. What you can't do is ask a question. You can't say do functioning things exist or do changing things function. You can't get that. So it won't really matter, and then the debater will have to deal with however she responds, whether she responds correctly or instead. Yes. All right. So functioning things do not exist. And then you come in. Then you do your little thing, right? You go there. Functioning things do not exist. Okay. Whatever. Right. Snap your fingers, or whatever your style. You'll have your own style. Everyone has their own style. Right. Well, no, we haven't done it, and also, you don't have to. So functioning things do not exist. Right. Disagree with me. Well, Christine can say, yeah, I agree, or you can say, no, I don't agree. But you didn't give a reason. She can't say reason.
Third.
We don't know that word. So third means yes. Okay. But if something functions, then it can be perceived. So how does it not exist? So I can't answer that. Right. It can be perceived. So right, you could have stopped right there. This is the issue with things. Right? Say it again. If something functions, then it can be perceived. Right. Then you just if something functions, it can be perceived. And that's it. Can be perceived.
Sure. Yes.
So what you're saying then is that if something is perceived, then it doesn't exist. Taking the first two statements together. But you said you first agreed that functioning things don't exist, and then you agreed that if something functions, then it can be perceived, or something can be perceived if it functions. So how can something actually but you're doing very well. So putting those two together, see, I'm losing my own train of thought. Yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah. So what you can do is like instead of like re-saying it, you can just say, So how did it go? So you said, but something that functions
Functioning things.
can be perceived. First thing I said was functioning something's functional, it can be perceived. So you just also said yes. And then I said, if you put those two together, then how do you that's why I asked my question. But it was like putting those two together, and those two statements contradict each other.
So then when you instead of doing that, you say all you do is say, so function things do exist. And you stop, right? Instead of because in your mind is past classwork where you're probably thinking about what is something or something like that. So you don't. So what your kind of idea is to try and make her explain it without you having to say, well, because you said that, because of that. You just say, oh, so then functional things do exist. Right? Like that. And then so in that way, it keeps you on your train of thought, because your train of thought as an attacker will be racing. It'll be heady. And so if you stop and try and deliver an explanation of what's happening in your mind so fast, you'll lose it. Because you won't catch up to your own brilliance, basically. And so you say that, and then she has to deal with it. Whatever you do, she has to deal with it, and whatever she does, you have to deal with it.
Alright, so function things do exist. Can I say that I can't be the crazy person now?
But you can't, except you have to prove why, right? Because you can say that I can't do it with a crazy person because now you have to say, well, why she's contradicting herself. Because she hasn't really contradicted herself yet, because the meaning of an existing thing isn't out yet. Right? Okay, so yeah.
Okay. So function things can be perceived. How function things do not exist. Then you're contradicting yourself. Is that correct?
You can try that.
So you're not contradicting yourself.
So then at this point, if you're really in trouble and you don't want to, if you just say, okay, I'm just going to try and get it, you can say, oh, you can't explain to me how it is that you're not contradicting yourself. And then she's going to give you a nod. And then she'll say, sure, and you say, sure, and then she'll have to say something. It might not be true. So, yeah.
So you can't possibly explain to me how you're not contradicting yourself. You can't explain to me how you're not contradicting yourself.
Then you get to the big, sure.
Sure.